in regards to the guys that are seem to be the top players at pretty much the positions across the field, offense and defense, that Ohio State is looking to be their number one choice or their number two choice at that position, depending on how many players you play at that position. Offensive line, obviously 5, quarterback 1. But are there certain guys that are more important as targets because if Ohio State has to go to that second or third choice, they really have to drop off to go to that next player, whereas opposed to other positions, obviously, if you miss on the first guy, your second and third guys are just as good, so it's not a big loss.
I mean, yeah, there's something to that for sure. I mean, where you have, okay, this guy is kind of a must-get because, by the time you've gone through the recruiting journey and you're not going to recruit every kid out there for one reason or another, maybe he's just not a good fit or so on and so forth. And, your 1 and your 2, I mean, there's a pretty wide margin, whereas at other positions, it's like, well, we got 3 guys here and, we'll be happy with any of the 3 because they're negligible. I mean, maybe their measurables are a little bit different or whatnot. But, yeah, I mean, it's always difficult because, I never want to get into a position and saying, well, if they don't get this kid, they're kind of in trouble because this kid and this kid, they're okay, but they're not great or whatever. You just never want to be in that position. But yeah, there certainly are going to be cases for any program to where, just one kid is just far and away above everybody else. I mean, I could sit there and I can make this example. I mean, and he's already committed. Quinn Ewers probably was far and away the best quarterback on Ohio State's board, and that even includes Malik Murphy, who is a tremendous talent, who's going to Texas. And everybody thought that things might go the other way. Malik Murphy might end up at Ohio State, and Quinn Ewers would stay with Texas or whatnot. So, but, was it super dramatic difference? No. I mean, it wasn't a case of, a 5-star and a 2-star, depending on whether it's your rankings, Steve rankings, my rankings, Tim Tressel's rankings, whoever's rankings. That's immaterial at this point. But yeah, I think that there are times where you may sit there and put even a little bit more emphasis on somebody because you know that you're pretty thin as your recruiting board works its way down. But, fortunately, Ohio State has such a national reach. I don't think we see those dramatic chasms like that to where it's like this guy's a 10 and then the next couple guys are like 6s. That doesn't necessarily happen anymore.
Yeah, I would agree with what Kevin is saying. I think back on the Caleb Brown situation, they have 2 receivers committed, Caleb Burton from Lake Travis, Austin, Texas, and Kion Grace from Chandler, Arizona. They're both in the top 250. In fact, Burton is number 35 nationally, an outstanding wide receiver, will fit in right alongside the great receivers they've taken the last several years, like Julian Fleming and Jackson Smith, the Jigba, and Harrison and Abuka from last year. So I think, again, if they can get Brown and add him to this class, that may be all they need at wide receiver in this class. Where I think they're a little deficient right now, Kevin, you probably would agree, is offensive line. They only have one guy, Tegra Tashpola from Lakota West. And defensive line, they are completely void right now. And they've got some veterans, obviously, along that defensive line who are going to be filtering out. And so they need some bodies to replace some of the guys that they are going to have coming in, or some of the guys they're going to be losing. And when you think about Garrett's gone, Tyreek Smith is probably gone, Zach Harrison is probably gone. That's 3 guys right there. Ron Vincent may or may not be gone after this season. Antoine Jackson is certainly his last year as well. So there's 4 guys right there. And right now, I mean, I know they've done okay depth-wise at that position, but I think they need some impact defensive linemen. And Tuamalo, if they land him, would help that from an overall standpoint. But looking at 2022, if I saw areas where it needs to be upgraded, I would say, and obviously losing McCullough at linebacker, you do have Powers and you do have Hick, who are both outstanding prospects, but McCullough is a great one as well. You might even say you're down one there too. So I think they've really got to hone in here. Offensive line, defensive line, maybe a linebacker. They're always looking for a lockdown defensive back. That's no doubt. We'll see if they take a running back, how that works out here in the head.
Yeah, just to kind of run through those. I mean, they certainly. I mean, not only are they going to take one back, and that's probably going to be Dallin Hayden. I think they could potentially take two if it's the right situation.
Definitely.
It worked out really well with Trevion Henderson and Evan Pryor. You're not always going to find situations where you have two backs of that caliber agreeing to come in together because, again, one ball. So it's not, it's even though you do run, you do see a lot of times where there may be a two-back set. I mean, you're going to do a lot more 12 than you're going to do 21, but there are certain instances that you can do that. When you look at defensive back, I mean, safety, really. I mean, they've got Kai Stokes in the fold. If they could get Xavier Nwakpa and they could get Zion Branch, I think they would be over the moon. I mean, if they got one of those two and then maybe got like a Markeith Williams, that certainly would work. I mean, they got Kamari Ramsey, who's supposed to come in, maybe not somebody that I'm thinking ends up in the class. But, yeah, with defensive line, I mean, you look at some of the guys that are on the official list. At end, you got Omari Abor. I really think Ohio State's got a good opportunity there. You got defensive tackle Nick James coming in. I don't really know a lot in that situation. He's just not somebody I hear mentioned a ton in terms of in connection with Ohio State. That could change coming out of the visit. You got big-time defensive tackle Curtis Neal out of North Carolina. I'm just kind of scrolling through here. Gabe Dindy, Joshua White, whose visit may or may not happen at this point. We're still trying to figure that one out. He's a teammate of Kristen Miller. And, of course, you got Kristen Miller and Chris McClellan. Kenyatta Jackson, who's a teammate of Ryan Turner, who committed to Ohio State last month. Certainly an opportunity for that. I think offensive line is always going to be my concern just because it is so difficult to evaluate offensive linemen in the first place. And, it's kind of feast or famine sometimes in terms of the state of Ohio, what you've got there. What we do have is out of Huber Heights, Emil Wagner, who will be here on the 4th. And I think that if anybody says, is there somebody that you think could pop coming right out of the weekend? Wagner is somebody who could, but I really think he wants to take that Penn State visit. I think he wants to go through some of the other visits just to make sure he's making the right decision. And I know while Ohio State fans would be like, let's get it locked up, let's be done with it, it may be better to let him go through his visit to make sure he's making the right choice now instead of having cold feet in November and having to really sit there and scramble and make sure things are locked in there. A couple of other guys, you got Addison Nichols coming in on the 14th. You got Joe Brunner coming in from the state of Wisconsin on the 11th. You got Jalen Early out of Texas. I think he's somebody else that Ohio State might have an opportunity at. The one that I really think that Ohio State would love to land is Cam Dewberry, a 5-star out of Houston, 6'3", 324. I know that some of the recruiting services feel that he's a little short to play tackle. I mean, maybe he does slide in, but I don't think anybody can dispute his athletic ability. But, I think he's somebody that may stay south, but grew up as a huge Ohio State fan. If Ohio State can somehow convince him that Ohio isn't all that far away from Houston, things could change in a hurry on that one.